Hello, folks. Welcome to Pushing the Boundaries. It gives me great pleasure today to chat with Daryl D'Cruz, proper film star name as well. Qlik Luminary. She's laughing, but it is, isn't it? It is. It really is. Qlik Luminary, DataIQ, top 100. Very jealous and envious. I've always wanted to be one. Never going to be one, probably. But get this, former head of data innovation at Samsung Europe. So, a great leader and innovator. And I, personally, I've seen Daryl present at several high-profile events. And what struck me, folks, was his passion to humanize analytics. And it really came across, and I can really get this, that often the missing link is about people, and he's bringing it together. So blending art with science, what does that mean? We're going to find out. Removing the mystery with data, and data literacy is skill essential to survive and thrive. He's on the money there, and I really with him on that one. So today, I want to find out a little bit more about what these things really mean to Daryl and what it can mean for you and what's next in Daryl's career. So folks, we're going to push some boundaries and we're going to welcome you, Daryl. Daryl, good morning. Welcome to Pushing the Boundaries.
Good morning, Sean. It's great to see you. And yeah, thanks for having me today.
Oh, it's a pleasure, absolute pleasure. And, thinking about, all that stuff you've been talking about and innovating, I think what's first in my kind of like line of inquiry in a way is, how did it all start for you, Daryl? How did you get into analytics?
Yeah, I really love this question because there are really two answers to this. So for the purpose of today and really pushing the boundaries, I'm gonna share both of them. So there's a conscious story around this in terms of how I got into data and analytics. Back in the 80s, my father had a typesetting, print and design business. So I was very fortunate enough when he'd bring home his Apple Macintosh, the very first one that they released. So I'd have a go with that and have some fun. Then he introduced me to the Atari 800, which was a classic gaming machine. Absolutely. But yeah, I think I got into coding basic when I was doing my GCSEs, and then on from there I went to study business information systems in Bristol. So I think that's been my real foray into data and analytics. And then I moved to Australia in 2007, 2008, and worked for an incredibly innovative CMO. He brought me in to run data and analytics for the retail group he was working at. So that's the conscious story I like to tell. But I can't even going to say this. Pushing the boundaries. But the unconscious story, you kind of touched on it earlier. In 1985, there was a film that was released by Paramount Pictures. It was about a boy who was 10 years old, and his name was Daryl. He was a government-created robot, but he had superhuman reflexes and mental abilities. And the acronym is Data Analyzing Robot Youth Life Form. So yeah, perhaps there was some sort of universal subconscious element to it as well. Yeah. So
you're not actually that person, are you? You're not actually that person. No. No, just to clarify for viewers, just in case they're kind of, just thinking, oh my God, we actually got Daryl from the film on it. That's great, and that's great that you've got two ways of looking at inspiration, and I follow a little bit of that from those early home computer days and coding stuff at school and what have you. I never went down the coding route because it just wasn't good enough. But I can see how those days could really inspire you, because things were special in those days, weren't they? It really did create a lot of excitement because it was new, brand new. So. Talking about that, come round, in terms of your career and what you've done. Have you got any really proud moments in your career that you think, that stood out for me as I'm just really proud of that?
Yeah, I think the one that comes to mind is when I worked in Australia. The CMO I worked for, Rob Kane, he was moving on to his next role, but he had teed up this amazing presentation for him to do with our group CFO at the time. And because he was moving on, I was drafted into this conference presentation. And at this point, I hadn't done a presentation like this before. It was at ADMA, so the Association of Data-Driven Marketing and Advertising. They did a conference called Data Day. And there I was sitting in front of 200 people for the very first time, speaking about data and analytics and the use cases that we put into the business. So really, really challenging. And as frightening as it was also very obviously very rewarding as
Yeah.
well. And we did
And
some really interesting things there. We, reflecting on it, we took 7 Excel spreadsheets, which obviously had 1 million rows in each, and we merged them together to create a single customer view of the 7 brands within the group. And then we were able to build RFM models on top and look at how we target and segment and drive value from that perspective. So, lots of examples like that I shared. I think that was when I was really proud.
Yeah, it's really push your personal boundaries and that presentation stuff. So thinking about that, and when I saw you present, it was very, very compelling, and that sort of real inner passion around the importance of analytics in organizations and how people connect to that. And going back to when I introduced you, Daryl, I talked about this humanizing analytics.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about that, and what does that mean to you personally?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Humanizing analytics is something, I really love this topic, Sean, and it's because, it's what we as professionals in the industry, we know we need to achieve this. It's about putting people first, right? That's the most important thing. And it's about the experience. It's about human experience. And, when you think about brands, how do they deliver that experience? How do they humanize themselves? And they can do it through storytelling. We've got lots of, timely Christmas ads at the moment doing that. But it's about, websites. It's about call centers. And when you think of the experience you have in all these different places, it's about people, and it's about humanizing the interaction that you have with them. Overall, human experience stacks up to whether we like a brand, whether we would buy from a product from a brand, or whether we'd recommend a brand to our friends and family, for example. So with that in mind, it's about, how do we, as analytics professionals and teams, create more impact from that perspective? It's about the experience that we put out to the business, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely right. And it's about connecting people to technology. And analytics is no different, is it? Because you're driving behaviors, you're driving actionable stuff. And that's just so important. And I heard there was a LinkedIn post from friend Jason Krantz, and he talks a lot about this. And he said that, what other kind of skills do we need in the future? Is it going to be sort of more business skills, more technical skills? What's more important? And actually, again, I mean, obviously both in the world, but actually those business skills are what's the difference, I think, between success and failure. There's a lot of tick boxing, isn't there? But actually it's those important people skills that are going to help make that sort of success in analytics, which you demonstrated so clearly on what struck me on your presentations to Big Data London and to you were the QE2 presenting, weren't you, on the main stage? It's just great. So we need more people like you talking about these things, Daryl, which is great.
Right. And I think just building on the humanizing analytics piece, it's it's about creating that safe space to learn and to test and actually to fail and to move forward with as well. It's about being more approachable with our stakeholders and focusing on their needs more so than the great visualization that we've just built with all the data points that we have. And it's also about the culture of the business too, right? So, it's not just the CDO in the business that needs to talk about data culture and humanizing analytics. It's got to be the whole leadership team. And even yesterday, I was speaking to a great chief data officer in the States, HP Buenos, and he was saying we were agreeing that we need to educate not just the CDO, but everyone in the leadership team about how data, how analytics, data science, and ML, how it really can drive change, but everyone needs to be aligned on that. And actually, he admitted that these leadership teams aren't. So that's where we need to really get the cut through going.
I was so with you on that, and I will come on to what's going on in your career next. But hopefully, you're going to be because I don't know, but hopefully you're going to be part of that, helping to drive all of those leadership teams around the world up and forward. So just thinking, we'll go into a bit detail really around the analytics side. And what's your favourite analytics use case that you've led in your career?
Yeah, I think the favourite one that I've led is got to be Smart BI with Samsung. I think there's so many different complexities to that piece that really resonates for me. I think because the culture at Samsung, it's very dynamic, and it's obviously such a global business. There's lots of competing forces there. There's high risk of failure, lots of people to get on board as well. And I remember it took us a whole year, January to December, to get to a point in December where the piece of work was cancelled. Right, so we went into Christmas going, how are we going to make this happen now? But yeah, in January, with a fresh mindset and new sense of motivation, there was a trip to Korea, and we finally got sign off. And then, once we got that sign off, boy, did we move fast. It was an incredibly quick, agile, successful implementation there. And I think, it was a roller coaster ride, but I think overcoming that and the resilience by the team, I think that's what really shines through. We rolled that program out to 300 users across Europe, and then 450 at the beginning of this year. And we won a couple of DataIQ awards, which was really good achievement. And I think, we got to celebrate one of them. Obviously last year we did, and that was very, very memorable. So I think, that was, I think a really successful, one of my favorites. And then, some of the results, we automated something like 2,000 reports and saved just under, I think, 1,000 days worth of man hours. So fairly considerable. And something that was really interesting in the way that Smart BI was positioned within the CMI team, Consumer Market Insights, we actually collaborated even more closely with digital, so that it became a more unified approach that we gave back to the business. So I think, the progress we made with that was incredible.
It's a great story, and I think what's good to celebrate the success. I think again, so important to tell those stories about the impact that those analytics have had in the organisation and personally what it means to people, but also think about those sort of lessons learned. So again, I think one of the biggest strengths of teams and individuals is to say, right, what have we learned from this process? What's worked really well, what hasn't worked so good. So what's your thoughts on some of your lessons learned that folks can take away with them today, Daryl?
Yeah, there's lots of learnings there, Sean. Good and bad, as you mentioned. I think something that I found really interesting at Samsung was the way that they combine qual and quant together to really provide a holistic view of the world at play. Right. So the CMI team, Consumer Market Insights, we focused on, focusing on the consumer at the heart, but being agnostic in terms of the channels they operate in, the products they're buying, and really blending in the research being undertaken with the analytics, the data that we have from the business. I saw some real value in that and telling stories, and then implementing BI into the business as well. There's a really interesting concept around we've got to get data to the edge of the organization. Self-serve is the way to go, right? But the reality is that, okay, you can provide self-serve to everyone in the business, but that's not enough. You've got to, engage with everybody. You've got to change the culture in the business as well. So I think, really good lesson there to be learned. You've got to really invest in data literacy everywhere. And it takes time, it takes investment to do that. One of the big lessons we learned is actually you can provide a visualization solution with some drop downs, some selections, dimensions and measures you can play with. But actually, even though the users say they want and need this data, maybe it's too complex for them. Maybe they don't have the time to actually work through some of the solutions that we build. So maybe simplicity is actually a good way of going sometimes, rather than being sophisticated and detailed and be able to answer everything. I think there's some really good insight there.
I think you're absolutely right. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, sure. So there was another one that I was thinking of yesterday, and around this topic, and it was around the citizen data analyst or the citizen data scientist. I feel like it's a trend that's really growing at the moment, and it's kind of polarizing as well. I'm seeing that some businesses are really for this and really giving power to different teams within the organization, and there are others that are really quite quite stood back from that. They're not really committed to it because of the risks involved. So I think that's one that we're going to see play out over time. I think my take is we need to empower people in the business to be more data literate and to be able to drive conversations at different places at different times. So that's definitely something from my perspective that's worth investing in.
Yeah, definitely. The whole data literacy thing is, you're absolutely right. And there's lots of different dimensions to data literacy. And quite closely linked to that, I think, is around the data quality. So the assurance of your data within organizations, I think is so important. They both go hand in hand. And if you think about what the research tells us, isn't it? I mean, you've lived and breathed this stuff, Daryl, so you know it firsthand. But all that research tells us that if you have a data organization, you will be more productive, you will be more informed, you'll be making better decisions, you'll be making better decisions more of the time, and your outcomes as an organization will be up. So all the evidence is telling us that, and still to this point we are not seeing that embracing, democratizing data literacy, if that makes sense. And I think again, we can make this really complicated, but the simplicity message that you're giving there, and if folks are able to share and support those executive teams and the organization through that data literacy journey, then I think the world is going to move on, and businesses are going to become more competitive and what have you in the world. So some great tips there, Daryl. Some great takeaways for people, and obviously people can, I guess, connect with you and find out more about that kind of stuff as well, personally through LinkedIn or whatever. And what I'm now interested in is finding out a little bit about your history, about where you've started. Your Atari 800, still fond memories coming back on that for me. And I want to think about the future a little bit more. I want to know what's going on, and what are you going to be pushing your boundaries with in the future, Daryl?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Sean. I'm experiencing a very creative time at the moment in my career. I left Samsung a couple of months ago, and this creative time, it's really exciting, but it's slightly nerve-wracking as well, because I'm now going to be stepping into setting up my own business and really setting my stall out for people to come and work with me. I feel like I left Samsung on a high. We've won a couple of DataIQ awards, and I know the work's been really impactful. But I've been quite intentional over the past couple of months to actually take a step back from my career and not overthink it as well. And this energy is there. It's really bubbling now to step into what it's going to be. I'm designing a portfolio career for myself, which is not what everyone chooses to do, but I'm going this direction. And I think data is really rewarding, but there's more that I want to do. So so the first one is I'm really pleased to be able to share my new company called Hexton. It's all about humanizing the experience with data switched on. So that's really exciting.
Love that.
Thank you. It's all about data strategy, right? It's all about business intelligence. It's about analytics and getting into data science. And it's about knowledge management as well, where we can, increase the visibility of knowledge, get access to it really quickly as well. And of course, humanizing is the thread that runs through all of this. So really excited about that. You can check it out, hexton.com, HEXDON. So that's the first one. And the second one is, again, it's related to being more human and relating to experience as well. So I have become a certified coach. And I think this is really important because I really enjoy helping people find focus in their values and their purpose. And it's really all about, perspective and how people can reach new heights in their lives. It's really rewarding stuff to be able to see people move forward for themselves. And, I also incorporate an element of biohacking into my coaching as well. And I'm seeing that's really powerful. So coaching is the next one. And then the third one is it's a smaller project that I'm working on. I've been engaged to help one of the last independent data science companies, end-to-end data science companies, to find an acquirer. So yeah, involved in the M&A space, which is really fun. They're valued at about, I think, 12 billion euros. So if you know anyone in your network, Sean, who may be open to buying such a company, do let me know. They've got some great IP and they're just ready to scale.
I'll get my checkbook out, Daryl. It's fine, don't worry. We'll sort it later.
Yeah. So yeah, really focusing on Hexton, the coaching side of things, then the M&A work. It's fun.
I think actually the 1 and 2, lovely link actually, because half of that talking about the humanising stuff, those sort of services that you offer across to organisations, and but it's about the people thing. So you want to be, the people you want to be working with, having that coaching style and ability is sounds like a lovely combination. And hopefully you'll give me some hints and tips at some point, Daryl, around my future and my career. But it is glorious to see that energy and that passion there that you've got for pushing and doing something new and different. So absolute pleasure to have you on today. And I think if people want to connect with you, is LinkedIn the best place, Daryl, to reach out to you?
Reach out to me at LinkedIn, or you can catch me at daryl@hexton.com as well. Available via both of those channels. Yeah, that's great. And I'm sure we will. Well, I wish you all the best for these new ventures in your future, but I'm sure our audience will too. So thank you so much. You're an absolute advocate for the industry, and an advocate for the people out there that really want to make a difference. So thanks very much again for sharing your story today, and it'll be coming very shortly to a video near you. Cheers. Brilliant. Thank you so much for having me, Sean. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.